Hey folks, how's it going? This is Iron Seagull here, and I just wanted to get some thoughts off my chest because this year for The Sims 4 so far has been a very turbulent one, to say the least. And right now things are slow, but I don't mind having a little bit of a break considering how things have gone. But there is going to be a roadmap coming in May, and that could end up including the next expansion pack for the game. And I gotta say, I am scared for the next expansion pack. Though not for the reasons you may think. I don't think it's a certainty that it's coming this summer because they could still end up saving it for the fall when it's really profitable with the holiday rush and all that stuff. And with the theme, yeah, that is a little bit of a concern too, because especially after releasing almost nothing but kits for the past almost year, they better be doing something really good and not just throwing out some like really random theme that very few people ask for in a whole expansion pack. But the thing I'm most concerned about is the buggy state of the game. Because just take a look at my wedding stories, which is, I mean, really one of the biggest releases of the year, considering that it is a game pack, because it's one of the bigger pack types, and it turned out to be very broken. Sure, it is mostly fixed now, but that doesn't mean that it was acceptable for that pack to be released like that in the first place, and it really kills the hype of that initial release. Which is sad because just looking back at certain packs like Seasons, the excitement was so real and it was just great just how that pack turned out. Even though it wasn't perfect by any means, it was definitely missing some stuff and it did have some bugs, but overall it was a way smoother release than something like my wedding stories. However, now it seems like they just can't release anything without something about it being broken in some kind of way. Even with the recent Sims Delivery Express that we got, which included the Plant Sims scenario and a new hair, that hairstyle is broken for children. If you're zoomed out far enough, then basically their wig becomes sentient and gets a life of its own as it just moves alongside the child. And while it is kind of funny, it's also really sad because it's just a hairstyle and they couldn't even get that right. And it's just on top of all the other buggy stuff that they've released in the past few months. Even with Neighborhood Stories, which initially was very hyped, it had that really critical error code 0 thing happening. So that also got ruined by bugs. It's definitely not a new concept for Sims games to have plenty of bugs, but as of the past year or so, it just seems to be getting even worse than it already was. Even in better times, expansion pack releases were the ones to worry about the most because expansion packs tend to bring the most changes to the core game. So then the updates that would release just before the expansion pack would have the most things in it and therefore increase the chances of having something in it broken. So unless some serious effort is put into quality control within the next few months, it is very well possible that the next expansion pack could make my wedding stories look stable and just be even more broken. As hard as that may be to imagine, and as much as I don't want to say that, yeah, it is very well possible, especially if it is something like Generations. Even if it ends up being like everything we want, it's possible that it could bring some deep changes to the game that could break things even more. We could have something like error code 0 all over again in probably one of the worst possible cases. Right now, I am in this weird headspace where I'm itching for some more gameplay because we haven't had much gameplay for several months, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, but how much do I want this if it just ends up breaking anyways and causes me stress, and then can't properly even play with it for a month or two, and then by the time it's actually fixed, I feel kind of demotivated to check it out because of just how badly it went. So it's definitely not a great feeling, and even like with this month, aside from the fix for Error Code 0, which funny enough came out on April Fool's Day, there's been no patch yet, and I'm not getting my hopes up for one next week either, so it still seems really slow going with fixing bugs, unless it is something that is super broken and is causing the game to just like not save for people or do something about that level of bad. I wonder how much worse it's going to get before it gets better, or if it will just keep getting worse until The Sims 4 just collapses in a mess and can barely be played anymore. Is it going to take releasing every single pack as broken as my wedding stories in the future before finally it like gets to a point where it's like, no, we do have to change this because too many people are skipping out on the new releases because it's too buggy? Or did my wedding stories give them a proper wake-up call and just kind of get things going and make them like test and actually fix bugs more? Assuming we don't get a stuff pack or a game pack before the next expansion pack comes along, I think the next expansion pack is going to be the answer to that question. The most recent expansion pack we have at the time of making this video is Cottage Living, and despite that being released in the middle of a pandemic, it turned out to have pretty great reception. Personally, I enjoy it a lot too, and it does have some bugs, sure, but definitely did not turn out super broken. So even though I have been pretty pessimistic in this video, I'm not saying it's impossible for them to release a good expansion pack still, because they definitely proved it with Cottage Living. So hopefully EA and Maxis do realize that there is a lot riding on this next expansion pack whenever it does end up releasing. After all, as someone who has been experiencing The Sims since nearly the beginning, it's been a roller coaster of ups and downs. So the up has to come eventually, right? It did with Cottage Living last year. So hopefully we are due for an actual win, whether it is a smaller one or a huge one. At least now at the slow period, I've had some time to relax and check out some other games. Like, I finally got around to beating the second DLC pack of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, which I really enjoyed. And I bought the new LEGO Star Wars game. That's been pretty fun. And I also replayed a little bit of Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, because that was referenced in the Sonic movie sequel that came out recently. So that's been nice. I don't know about you all, but personally I am anxious about what the next roadmap is gonna be, and not in a particularly good way, because I just think there is a high chance that I'll be disappointed with it mostly being kits, I guess, because if a ball is rolling in a certain direction, it's easy for me to feel that it is probably going to continue rolling in that same direction. It sure would be nice if that ball started rolling in a different direction and not just temporarily, but at least I did get this funny freeze frame while editing this video. I mean, that llama is totally going to be me if the next expansion pack is so broken that it makes my wedding stories look like a stable product at launch.